Elementary Science Class 6. Sorting materials into groups. Objects around us. Maisie, have you ever thought about the vast variety of objects around us?
Not really. Why is it important?
It's essential to identify objects and group them based on their shape, materials, and use. For example, we can group objects that are round in shape or made of plastics. This helps us understand the world around us better.
That makes sense. Can you give me some examples?
Sure, everyday objects like buckets, lunchboxes, toys, water containers, and pipes are made of plastics. Objects made of paper or wood include notebooks, chalk, pencils, and rubbers. We can group objects that we use for preparing food like plates, spoons, and knives.
That's interesting. How can we learn more about different materials?
We can start by collecting as many objects as possible from around us and listing them in a table. We can identify the materials that each object is made of. We can also add more materials that we know of and list everyday objects made of those materials. This helps us understand which material is used for making any given object.
That sounds like a fun activity. What else can we learn from this?
We can learn that objects around us are made of different materials. An object can be made of a single material or many materials. One material can be used for making many different objects. It's important to understand the materials used for making objects to understand the world around us better. Properties or materials.
Sonia, why we use glass, plastics, or metal to make tumblers instead of cloth?
It's because we need a material that can hold water, and cloth cannot do that.
Do we choose a material to make an object depending on its properties?
Yes, materials have different properties like appearance, hardness, solubility, and more that are important for their usage.
I read that water plays an important role in the functioning of our body because it can dissolve a large number of substances. Do liquids also dissolve in water?
Yes, some liquids can dissolve in water, while others cannot. It depends on their solubility in water.
Wow, I had no idea. And how do we determine if a substance is soluble or insoluble in water?
We can conduct a simple experiment by adding a small amount of the substance to water and stirring it. If it dissolves, it's soluble, and if it doesn't, it's insoluble. Experiment. Science experiments are a great way to learn about the world around us. For example, did you know that some liquids mix with water, while others don't?
Really? I had no idea. How can we test this?
We can collect samples of different liquids, like vinegar or coconut oil, and mix them with water in a glass tumbler. We can observe whether they mix or form a separate layer.
That sounds like a fun experiment. What else can we learn from science experiments?
We can also learn about transparency. For example, some materials are transparent, like glass and air, while others are opaque, like wood and metal. And there are also translucent materials, like paper with oil on it.
I never thought about materials that way before. What's another experiment we can do?
We can test whether objects float or sink in water. For example, dried leaves float on the surface of a pond, while stones sink to the bottom. We can also test whether the same objects float or sink in other liquids, like oil.
That's really cool. I can't wait to try these experiments out myself.
Science experiments are a great way to learn and have fun at the same time. It's important to keep experimenting and asking questions to better understand the world around us.